Okay, we're all on.
All right, and welcome to a very long hiatus from Mythical Monster Investigations, episode 14. We're going to be looking at an odd one, odd for many reasons, which I'm going to explain throughout this video. We're going to be looking at the Viking Berserker, which is actually where the term to go berserk comes from. I know, shocking, right?
It's not from the comic book? Oh, the manga, I should say?
That's some
No,
really.
no, it's not. You think they were the first to ever use that term?
I mean, it's Japan, of course.
That I'm gonna move on. So anyway, going off this now, when people think of Vikings, they think of some of the deadliest warriors in all history. They think of savage, overly muscular, manly, rampaging warrior. What? Seriously?
I like, as you were saying that, you were literally describing the main character of Berserk. That was perfect. I couldn't line that up any better.
Well done. Always impressed. Yes. So, actually, you know what? That's a good thing because you can see what the Vikings spawned. Because this is how they're viewed. And to be fair, it's not far from the truth. The Vikings were a warrior culture. Uh, most of their gods were war gods, so their entire culture was built around. Well, not the entire culture, but the majority of culture was built around war. It was built around brutality, and it was ruthless. The Vikings were a ruthless people. That's just how it is, and they were so ruthless because, well, while they had other forms of trade, they did mostly raid people. They were known for coming and attacking, and that's where they got this legend of being almost demonic. When you when other people told legends of Vikings, they told them as these almost demon-like creatures that would come from the sea and kill everything indiscriminately, barely even human. And because of this, many legends rose about them, but arguably, none of them were as famous or as blatantly exaggerated as the Berserker. Now, the Berserkers were basically the shock troops of the Viking people. These were the toughest of the tough, the baddest of the bad. These were the warriors that they sent in to basically kill everyone. They were, the modern day Navy SEALs. They were the ancient Viking era Navy SEALs or the Marines. They were the toughest of the tough. And okay, so the Viking warriors were said to be absolutely berserk in their behavior. They would rage with garling teeth, biting their shields, almost be rapid, going in. Neither sword nor arrow could slay them as they went in for the kill. This was the description. So, obviously, they were the strongest and most terrifying warriors of an already fierce and terrifying people and tribe, which that says a lot, especially for that. And what separated? So, how do you separate terrifying people from already terrifying people? How do terrifying people make themselves more terrifying? Well, it said that they went into a trance-like state and that they were more animal than they were man. Which this is going to be it. So while they were described as more animal than man, like barely being human, yeah,
Thank you,
not
AI.
exactly like that, but
Thank you,
that
AI.
is what. Yes, that's what AI gives you when you type in more animal than man.
I think I typed in more bear than man.
Yeah, and that's how AI gets that from. So
For
thank you,
those in the
AI.
podcast, we are using the meta AI still because these pictures are hilarious.
In every way, and it saves us from looking up things on the internet. And actually finding credible pictures. Like these are so much more fun than credible pictures, and you all can look up credible pictures. So
Well,
let's have fun with this.
they'll see the credible pictures as we get to them. I hope we are still at the point that people can tell the difference between AI and real pictures.
You know what? I'm gonna leave that alone because I'm not always sure. People have been disappointing me lately, so I'm not gonna talk about that. Now, the thing is, the Berserker is not a monster, but the reason I want to bring it up, the reason I want to talk about it, is that it illustrates the entire point of this series. The entire point of Mythical Monster Investigations, and also the entire point of Probable, Possible, Plausible, an explanatory guide to monsters of myth. Is that I lost my train of thought. Apologies.
But
We've looked. I got it back. Sorry about
okay.
that. Yeah, we have looked at a lot of basically bizarre and impossible monsters, creatures in this series that just seem unreal. And also, in doing so, we've established steps to try to prove where these legends came from. We've got a series of what you should look for that you shouldn't just discount it immediately. You should take a look at a certain steps and try to work backwards to see if you can find a plausible origin. And just like with all the other monsters we did, we're going to do the same with Berserker. And I'm hoping it kind of gives a point, which I'm going to illustrate again at the very end of the video, is that we should start with the name. Now, Berserker. It means bare shirt or bare skin, which essentially is what they wore. The Viking warriors of this wore bear skins to distinguish them, which, yeah, not the most imaginative name when you think about it. I'm not sure if it was the Vikings or the Europeans who gave them the name Berserker. Either way, it shows a very strong lack of imagination. I mean, you might as well just. It would be like if someone was wearing a Metallica shirt and we just call them Metallica shirt.
I mean,
I mean, I'm sure someone does that, but still, it's lazy.
I'm thinking the Jack Sparrow and Pirate Caribbean where like we once had a pirate who lost both his arms and his legs. What do you call him? Fred. Like, okay.
That was one of the best jokes in that whole movie. Like, I'm looking for an occasion to use that joke. But okay. So basically, yeah, they were specialized and they wore an animal skin to mark them, which is a very common thing. Like an animal pelt depicting a hierarchy has been used in several things. I mean, it was one of the most famous, or at least the one that would probably be the most well known, are the wolf pelts from ancient Rome. The what are they called? The vesceles,
Velites.
velites. The velites were basically high ranking. They would wear the wolfskin, and this was actually a callback to their founding, where, according to myth, Rome was founded by two brothers, Romulus and Remus, who were suckled by a she wolf, which is why the wolf is a big symbol in Rome. Of course, one of the brothers did end up killing the other brother, but well, we'll leave that alone because I don't want to get into the psychology about dangerous wolves and brother killing brother, because that would take up this whole video.
Well, it depends which so hearing that there's two different troops that had the pelts. You had the peltists who the velites who were basically pelters. They would use javelin to throw at the enemies. They were basically scouts.
Right.
What you're saying sound more like the standard bearer or the signifier because they will also sometimes wear the wolf pelt and they
Yeah.
would be held in the back.
Yeah, no, but both were signs of prestige, though, based off the founders. That was my main point. Is
I
that
don't
they
know if
were
the
able
velites was
to.
prestige though. I think they were just skirmishers, shock troops.
Well, I mean, if you're shock troops, you're supposed to be prestige. Like you're wearing that wolf pelt to make you stand out.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like that's the point of the pelt.
Yeah, I think you're mentioning more the standard bearers. The standard bearers was more of the actual prestige because they held the standard for the legion.
Sure, but like the Vesels would still. I mean, the wolf pelt does symbolize that they're part of a unit, right?
Yeah, no, I don't know if they would be considered elite. They would consider just light infantry shock troops of just skirmishers.
Sure, but was it distinct? I'm saying it still was a way to distinguish.
Yeah, it was distinct. It was a distinct marker for them.
Yeah, and But yeah, that's a very common thing because several cultures actually did that with various animal pelts to, if not for prestige, then to denote them as a special unit. Like, so yeah, you're probably right. The standard bearers would have worn the wolf pelt to, show prestige, where the Vasseurs would have probably just made it for a special unit. That's about right, right?
Yeah, no, now I'm actually curious. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, no, the Velites was not elite troops. They wore it. Most of the time, they also would wear fox skins. That was just to help them blend into the surrounding, so that people would think that, so that people wouldn't notice that, oh, it's an army of troops, not army of, it's just some wolves or something like that. Because the Velites was the youngest and the poorest. They were the lowest ranking.
Oh, so it just happened to coincide with. So it was literally just a coincidence that it happened to be part of the symbol of prestige,
I think it was. I think for
or
them,
just like more
I
practical.
think they wore pelts out of practicality
Oh,
to blend in because like I said, they were skirmishers. They was meant to go forward ahead of the troops to screen the enemy and to scout ahead.
okay. I did not know that. Okay, so learned
Because
something.
because the standard bearer, so sorry I'm being so stippler on this because
No, no, it's fine.
Roman history is one of the few things I do know a little bit about, so that's why I was trying to remember. I'm like, I don't think the Velites
Yeah,
were.
no, hey, as someone who loves history too, like I'm fully willing to learn. So
It was the standard bearer that I should include it. So that's on me. I should include a picture of the standard bearer because
no, hey,
they had the wolf pelt. They would have been the higher ranking prestige unit.
hey, I agree with this picture. So I didn't know the difference. So hey, happy enough. Like as a person who also likes Roman history, this history, I didn't know this. So just goes to show you, there's always more to learn. And you two never ever feel like you can't correct me on something. I am fine with being corrected. Like I didn't know that, and that's a good thing to learn. So I'm good with that. No, but come on, it's me. Don't apologize for teaching me something. Like I'm not that big of a jerk.
Oh, I'm kicking myself because now I'm kicking myself. That how did I not remember that?
Hey,
Oh,
it's
what's
been
the
a long week.
terminology? Decimation. I declare decimation on myself. Take me, Zed. Get the club and just beat me to death. That's the decimation.
That's like do you even know 10 people?
I mean, we can find some homeless people. So.
We can find 10 people. I can get 10 people.
Okay, I don't know about you. I'm not driving over to your place just to beat you to death.
That's fine. I can find 9 people aside from myself.
Okay, so Zed, you could take care of this.
Yeah.
Okay, have fun. Anyway, moving on. So, but that's the point. Is this? Well, the point I was trying to make is that several cultures have various symbols with animal pelts. I mean, there was Hercules with the Nemean lion pelt, which later on, because of that, a lot of warriors would wear lion pelts to either denote Hercules or, no, it was mostly to denote Hercules or in some cases Samson. Um, and I think actually a Roman emperor wore a lion pelt into fixed gladiator games as a way to, make himself more important. There was also the Native Americans who wore eagle feathers and various headdresses, also symbolizing the importance of it. And probably lesser known, the Aztec Jaguar Knights, who now they would sometimes also dress up as eagles, but the most famous ones they dressed up as jaguars. Now this was to go for hunts and wars. Now what's interesting about the Jaguar Knights is they were not supposed to kill the enemy. They were actually supposed to capture them so that later they could be brutally sacrificed by ripping out their beating hearts. So much better.
I mean,
And
more civilized.
yes, far more civilized. I mentioned this only because I find it interesting. History shows that the Jaguar Knights actually had a primitive form of armor made of cotton. They would take cotton that was closely woven together and then soak it in a saltwater brine, which sounds primitive, but believe it or not, after being in the sun for a while, it hardened enough to the point where it could actually stop arrows, which I find interesting. Which actually shouldn't surprise me since Kevlar is actually very closely woven together cotton fibers as well. So I guess when I think about it, that shouldn't surprise me. But I found it interesting that the Aztec Knights had this type of armor because, as AI showed us, they are mostly depicted as, shirtless warriors. And there's the Roman standard that.
I had to rectify my sin.
Oh,
There you go. Which, honestly, I'm not completely sure. Okay, so funny thing about the Roman, I'm going off on another tangent just because I have to. When you'll see with Roman soldiers, if you've noticed, they always have wrist guards on.
Yeah.
There is no historical evidence for wrist guards at all.
No.
Roman soldiers, like in every relief we have, every depiction of them, they never have wrist guards. This is a complete invention of Hollywood, and it is nonsense. Like, there is no evidence whatsoever that Romans ever wore wrist guards or leather wrist bracelets. There's no evidence. This is completely a fabrication of Hollywood, and it's so ingrained that to this day, even historical dramas will put those in there.
Fixed.
Yeah. No,
There you go. That's actually.
they still have things on their wrists.
Well, yeah, but I think that's just a piece of cloth or something.
It's still a wrist thing. If you look at the reliefs, there is nothing on their wrists. So, not the point. Okay, so I got off on tangents there. Sorry, I find it interesting. And partially Shadow R Fox because you got me interested in the history about the Roman Veritas, which, again, I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, I just remember because I remember because the this last tangent for me for Rome, the position in which the troop is in determine how high ranking they are. So the lowest ranking, weakest troops are often in the front, which is the velites, and then the next line would be the frontline infantry, and then as you get further back, the principes, which would be more heavily armored, more heavily equipped, and then after the principes, you would start getting to the triarii, who would be the most senior, most veteran. This is also where you would see the standard bearer probably standing next to the people who are the most experienced.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're usually the ones with the big, ugly medals on them.
Yes.
Which, I'm not gonna lie, I know they were prestige, but those things were just weird looking. I'm sorry, cluttered the armor, to be honest. But I guess it's not that much different today. Like, our military generals wear medals too, just smaller. But they don't wear them to battle, I don't think.
I mean, to be fair, that was another piece of armor you could have on, essentially.
Yeah, fair enough.
But you're counting those things that are hanging at the waist, right?
No, I'm also talking about, like some of the higher officerians who wore, like, the big brass medals all over their bodies, covering their chests.
Oh, well, oftentimes, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry, it looks a bit ridiculous.
But those are another piece of metal that's on your chest to protect your
No,
chest.
No, I admit it is, but still, I imagine it's kind of clunky.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the point of all that is with all these examples of basically animal pelt clothed warriors and, having such a stigma with animal pelts being a symbol of some either hierarchy or designation or just like, unit type, why is it that the berserkers are the ones who receive so much infamy that they are actually rivaling some of the deadliest monsters in all mythology and creation? Now, for one thing, that may have to do with the Vikings themselves. Now, when you bring up the image of the Viking, they are merciless, they're battle hungry, they're these bearded, long haired warriors with horned helmets, screaming and killing indiscriminately everyone they can. And to be fair, they have earned their exaggerated reputation. They were extremely fearsome. They did participate in raiding parties. They would attack villages. They would attack churches. No one was safe from these things, from these people. They didn't care. They were completely indiscriminate about who they attacked. They were going after wealth, money, slaves, whatever. And they were actually from Scandinavia, and they were primarily from the 8th to 11th century. Now, they did have they did have forms of trade and farming. They did have that. Um, but their biggest thing is that they were advanced seafaring people. And while we think of Viking longboats as like very primitive looking, they're actually highly advanced ships that were capable of going over long distance travel and long distance sea voyages. Some, even as we've proven, reaching the shores of America long before Christopher Columbus did. So these people were far more advanced than we think, even to the point of having very advanced navigation, to where they actually have a myth of a treasure called the Viking Sunstone. Now, if you've never heard of the Viking Sunstone, I don't blame you. It's a very obscure mythos, but basically, the Sunstone was supposed to be a type of mineral that was able to act as a compass and guide the Viking ships, and that's part of how they were able to navigate the waters and travel so far. Now, the Sunstone may very well have been real. They actually have found descriptions of the Sunstone, and there were a couple of people who were able to remake this material and actually use it as a type of compass by focusing very small rays of light through cloud in order to determine a direction. Almost said something very weird there.
Yeah, yeah. I was like,
Yeah, sorry
Yeah,
about that.
I noticed. I wasn't gonna say anything.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I got a little tongue tied. In order to determine a proper direction. Gotta remember to pronounce all my letters there. And there are various history shows back when History Channel used to actually do, historical stuff and not the crap they do today, that showed that this thing could have actually worked. Now, there are a couple of famous sunstones done by famous Vikings. They've never accurately found them, but these things could have existed. So it shows that in terms of navigation, shipbuilding, and seafaring, the Vikings were actually an incredibly advanced people. However, that didn't stop them from being attackers and raiders. They still went out, they took valuables whenever they could. And the Norse gods, such as famously Odin, and far more famously, thanks to Marvel, Thor, and all the others, they were war gods. That's who they prayed to, that's who they looked up to, were these gods of war. So war was very important to the Viking people, and we shouldn't pretend that it's not. And um, while they may have been, diverse and advanced to those people they attacked, like to the British especially, they were little better than thieves and murderers. So, I mean, I don't care how advanced you are. You could be in a fine three-piece suit. You break into someone's home and start taking their stuff. You're a thief, no matter what you're wearing. You two agree with that, right? Right?
you keep what you kill. I think Riddick said it the best from the Chronicle
I
of
mean,
Riddick.
I've been playing Hitman, and Agent 47 wears a suit for almost anything, so I'm desensitized to this shit now.
My point is, despite wearing a suit, he's still a murderer, right?
I mean, he's just doing his job. It's a 9 to 5 at this point.
Maybe people are right. Maybe video games are desensitizing us too
I'm,
much.
I'm, I'm just gonna say this. Look, do we call the people who do executions at prisons murderers?
Some people, yeah.
Well, yeah, and we call those people wrong, or we
Yeah,
ignore
no,
them, or we
no, I
send,
agree,
or we
but
send them to jail so they can meet the executioner firsthand, and we no longer have to hear from them again.
this is why you're not in charge of a government system.
Yeah, because I would have a efficient government system.
Yeah, with half the people dead.
I mean, the half that's not dead will be very efficient.
Okay, my point was there's a difference between an executioner who's executing criminals or people who've broken the laws versus a murderer or a thief who's just killing because they want to. Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't like how much the hesitation is on this distinction. Okay, so moving on with I'm going to take that as a yes. So this behavior
And you can
is
take it however
kind
you
of
want.
yeah, I'll take it however I want. This behavior crippled. This behavior was kind of coupled with the Christians demonizing them. because honestly, because the Christians demonize them, comparing them to demons and devils, might actually be the origin of the famous horned Viking helmet, which historically there is no evidence for this. Like, there is no evidence whatsoever that any Viking ever had horns on his helmet. This is a complete fabrication. I know it's a famous one, but in reality, when you think about it, this would be incredibly impractical. I mean, like, how exactly would you put horns on a helmet? I mean, and mass produce them. I mean, when you think about it, it is kind of a dumb idea. I mean, it looks awesome, but practically speaking, the Vikings, if nothing else, were practical. This is a very
Well,
stupid aesthetic
here
choice.
is the question: how easy is it to go out and kill a bear just so you can have a pelt to put on your head?
In comparison to putting horns on a metal helmet, very easy.
I mean, I could take a nail and yeah, there we go, 2 holes on there.
I would like you to actually try that and just see how easy it really is.
Oh, I mean, now we got duct tape, so it'll be even easier.
You would duct tape horns to a metal helmet.
I mean, actually, to be fair, it probably wouldn't be that
Yeah.
bad. I know how to make an adhesive using tree sap.
Yes, because
So
an
they could-
adhesive is going to hold up after several battles.
Well, I mean,
I'm not saying it holds up after the battles. I'm just saying I know
pull
how
the
it
horns
works.
off of your helmet and you start stabbing with them, and then you use the blood to stick it back on as an additional adhesive. And
Okay, blood is not an adhesive. That would not work.
it coagulate, and then it's stuck to the helmet, and then you got a cool bloody helmet going on.
Okay, that is not how blood works. Blood is not glue, Shadow R Fox. It would not work like that. Do you really think a Viking is going to stop and pick up a horn to paste in blood and glue it to his helmet?
I mean, they take the time to steal stuff, so why not take the time to steal a horn, steal some blood, and just bob bing, bob
Because they're
boom?
there to steal stuff. They're not there to look aesthetically terrifying.
I mean, why not do both?
Because it's pointless, and I just got done saying they were practical.
I mean, maybe you had that few Viking who wanted to look fabulous, and they just
Okay, I'm pretty sure that fabulous was the last thing any Viking ever said ever. In fact, they were probably executed if they said it.
I probably would have been that Viking back in the past, going, "You guys, those wolf pelts are so last season. It's all bear's pelts. That's all the rage now."
Yeah, and you would have been put on the front of the ship as a freaking ornament.
And the whole time I would have been like, "This ship is so tacky. Look at these colors. Do you even clean this thing? Look at the barnacles."
If this had happened, we would have had legends about Vikings having talking ships.
Maybe that's why they had mouths on the end.
They had dragons on the end.
Exactly, and their mouths was open. You're now going back and looking through a bunch of Viking ships to see if there was ever one where their mouths were closed.
No, I am not doing that.
I am.
Oh, for heaven. Okay. I'm moving on. So, bottom line, the Vikings actually encouraged these rumors because the Vikings actually invaded a civilization more than once. I mean, they invaded England several times to the point where the British started actually being able to fight them back, and they ended up having to give them like land and settlements to get them to stop. So the Vikings would encourage these rumors, anything to make it more fearsome. So what we have is an entire culture that is dedicated to being fearsome warriors. So based on that, is it any wonder that their most fearsome warriors would seem more monstrous than, like, for say, actual monsters? And especially if they're clad in a bearskin in order to project strength and, to promote that. I mean, I think it makes sense, right? And with that thought in mind, and to possibly stop Shadow R Fox from pulling up a bunch of pictures of the tops of ships with talking mouths.
No, I'm not going to do that, but I do want to bring up the first time I actually heard of Berserk, which wasn't actually Viking. It was for Germanic warriors.
Really?
Yes. It was, in fact, I I didn't know that the Vikings still did Berserk warriors until what's the name of that famous battle with the Berserk warrior who held the bridge? Stanford Bridge, I think.
Was that it? I
Uh,
know what you're talking about. I don't remember the name.
because originally the first time I heard Viking was against the Romans. I mean, the Berserks was against the Romans.
Um, oh, yeah. No, I don't remember the one against the Romans. I remember King Harold. Was King Harold the Viking who held the bridge?
Maybe. I don't even think it was king. I think it was just a random no-name warrior.
Really, I remember a king.
There was a king who fought. Yeah, it was Stanford. It was Stanford Bridge. The um King Harold was the one who attacked the
Oh
who
yeah, the
attacked.
Berserker
He
warriors
led
was
the attack, but the Berserker warrior was unknown.
yeah, he was an unknown warrior who just held the bridge until he came up. Yeah, that sounds right.
But the first time I've heard of Berserk warrior was Germanic, um, because the Germanic warriors for Tenneberg Forest. There's accounts of them having bear skins and charging the Romans.
Okay, so maybe the Berserk just literally meant bearskin and was pushed around, and the Vikings were just the last ones to use it.
Well, I know
I
a
mean,
lot of
that
people
might
try
make more
to
sense.
call them the early. Now, whether they were high off of whether they were high or they were like the traditional Berserk warriors, that's there's not enough historical accounts. That was my first hearing of them.
Okay, that's okay. I had actually not heard that. I knew the Romans had fighting the Germans often, but you mainly hear about Hermann the German. I do remember the attack in the forest, but focused mostly off Augustus's failed attack when the legions were slaughtered, which actually meant he pulled back because of it. But I mean, I'm not gonna lie, Rome spent so much time fighting Germany. Like Marcus Aurelius famously fought them. Like Germany was always a pain in the ass for Rome, which is actually why Hitler wanted to kind of take them back to more pagan days, was because of characters like Hermann the German who were able to stand up to the might of the Roman Empire
So that
so fervently.
well, that image I just had on screen, that was from previously. That was from Trajan's column.
Column, yeah, and you notice no wristbands.
Yes. Well,
Yeah,
again,
I'm
those were
pointing
all
that out.
Germanic.
Yeah, but still no wristbands. Again, everything is wristbands, but yeah, no. So Berserker could very well have been used that, but the Vikings were the ones who made the term famous.
Yeah, no, they coined the term. It was that was the first time I heard of a bearskin warrior was from the Germanic.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Um, and with that fun information, now I think is a good time to play Who is that monster Pokemon in order to kind of take a break from history for a bit. So Zed, take it away.
Before I do you have the picture up considering the earlier incident of missing the pictures? Where you grabbed the wrong one?
Oh, that's a
Alright.
good question.
Well, I'm thinking we're thinking the cat, right?
Yes, we're
Okay.
thinking of the cat, the
Okay,
Viking
so
cat.
yeah, in that case, yes, I do have both of them.
Wait,
Okay, good. In
what?
that case, I'm pretty sure the similarity is a bit on the nose with this one, since its name is very similar. It's Berserker.
Berserker.
Yes,
Berserker.
yes. And it evolves from a Meowth that apparently got stuck on a Viking ship.
Okay, I don't know if you're joking or not.
No, this
I'm
is a
not.
legit
That's what
Pokemon.
happened. A Meowth got stuck on a Viking ship, got a beard, turned part metal, and then evolves into Berserker.
So, arguments to give context, you know they do regions of Pokemon. When they got this, not the the current game, but the previous game,
Was based on England.
it was based on England. So one of the things they had to do, they like to do regional variants where they take old Pokemon and they design them differently by if they lived in this region by themselves the whole time, and that was the regional variant of Meowth.
Okay. Just Pokemon's weird. I'm sorry, but like, good choice. Clearly, I see the. Yeah, I see the influence. Just really?
Yes.
Okay, I can't tell. Is the one on the left holding a sword, or is that just
No,
like?
those are
That's just
claws.
claws.
Those are claws that are in its hand.
Why are they so long?
Cat claws, extending them.
But it's going to a point like a sword.
Yeah, I can do that. You've never seen claws do that before?
Have you?
Yes.
Wolverine.
No. Those claws are very separate.
I was going to say I'm looking at the picture in front of me.
I know you were going to say that. That's why I was ignoring it. Okay. Well, there you go. See, even in modern day,
And it should be
it's
noted
around.
that the Pokédex entry do say for the Berserker, after many battles, it evolved dangerous claws that comes together to form a dagger when extended.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Dang.
Another Pokédex entry also say what appears to be an iron helmet is actually hardened hair. This Pokemon lives for the thrill of battle.
Wow. So Team Rocket's Meowth really sucks, doesn't it?
I mean, well, it's the Kanto
Considering
version.
there are 3 types of Meowth, yes, it does.
Okay, like I stopped watching Pokemon a long time ago. I don't even know the show's still going on. Is Team Rocket still even a thing?
I don't think anymore since Ash's journey ended.
Yeah, because they start a whole new run with new protagonists, with a new quote Team Rocket villain type group.
Oh, did Ash finally hit puberty?
No, they just stopped telling his story, so he's just not around
He
anymore.
finally became a Pokemon master.
Oh. Okay. Good for him, I guess.
I mean, everyone's still. I know there's some people who still calling like a lot of his previous defeats BS and stuff like that.
I mean,
I will forever say that his defeat in the X and Y anime was pure BS.
The Sinnoh is the one that got me.
The Sinnoh one was bad because of legendaries.
They pulled legendaries out on him.
The Kalos one was bad because a Greninja lost to a Charizard.
I'm sorry. It's like if I'm fighting someone and suddenly I think I'm fighting a random boxer and suddenly Muhammad Ali rise from the dead to fight me. I'm gonna be like, wait, what's going on? What's going on?
That's
like,
fair.
Yeah, something like that. It's like that. No, that's not fair.
Okay.
Or I should say Bruce Lee. If Bruce Lee rise from the dead and just start trying to pick a fight with me when I'm going into a match, I'm like, no, this isn't a fair match.
You know, I think it's best I got off Pokemon. Like, to preserve my sanity, I think it's best I got off it.
I mean, they're fitting for this episode.
No, I give props. They're very fitting. Just like, it's clearly best I got off it. I'll leave these to you.
I mean, they even got the horn helmet and everything.
Which we just established that Vikings did not have horn helmets.
The beards and...
Yeah, the beards are right. Yeah, no. The claws that turn into a sword, apparently.
Actually, technically, it doesn't have a horn helmet. Because it's the Dex
hair.
entry said that was hair.
Yeah, it's
that just
hair,
hardened in that
but
shape.
It looked like a helmet.
But it has hair in the shape of horns with its ears that seem to also be in the shape of horns. And you know what? Hair forming horns makes more sense than putting actual horns stuck together with blood on a metal helmet.
I mean, it'll work.
I didn't say they were stuck together with blood. I said they were stuck with tree sap.
Yeah, I know. I'm talking about Shadow R. Fox's ridiculous statement.
I mean, look, when blood get outside the body, does it coagulate?
Yes.
Yes, but it doesn't
Is
turn
that
it
a
into
form
an
of hardening?
Hardening, yes. Crystallizing.
And do that sometime hold things?
Very rarely.
And by that logic, I just gotta get to coagulate. There's gonna be someone out there who's gonna listen to this going, You know what?
Yeah,
Maybe,
you.
maybe he had a thing here. Let me get some blood and let me find out.
Okay, again, there is no archaeological evidence whatsoever that Vikings ever had horned helmets.
Well, yeah, the blood would evaporate by that point.
They
Of all the things I thought you would say, the blood being used as adhesive evaporating was not one of them.
Funny enough, there are other cultures who have worn horn helmets, but none of them were Vikings.
Was it the ad? Well, no. Who was it that wore horn helmet?
There's a couple. Some of the Saracen warriors
Yeah,
wore
wasn't it mostly the
horned
Middle
helmets.
Eastern tribes? I think.
Actually, a few people in Ghana, Africa, wore horned helmets.
Yeah, Africa would use.
There's some early 16th century Austrian ones. Celtics were big on horns. Celtics liked horns.
Probably the Celtic, where a lot of that legend came from with horns.
No, that was actually artists depict. The Viking thing was artists depicting Vikings. They depicted the Scandinavians with horns. But to be fair, the horned helmets were very rarely, if ever, actual horns. They were metal to shape like horns. So the horns were actually metal fixings built into the helmet, not animal horns glued to it with blood.
I mean,
No, there's no I mean.
look, what they
There
could
is
do,
no look.
they could easily taken like a bison skull and just put that on their head and made that a helmet.
But they didn't.
I
Have
mean
you
that.
ever actually tried to put a bison skull on top of your head?
I mean, well, no, you can't just take the whole thing and put it on there. You gotta break the jaw off and break off the lower part of the skull, so
Yes,
that way
even
the
with
top.
the ridiculous part you're talking about. Have you ever actually tried it? Bugs Bunny makes it look like simple, but in real life, that's rather difficult.
I mean, yeah, I think we could. I think we could. We could do something. We can make a animal skull helmet. And I mean, bison skulls are pretty tough, so they probably would be able to withstand blunt trauma.
Okay, Shadow R Fox, do you have any idea how big an ox skull is and what it looks like?
I mean, compared to a human skull.
You're going a little robotic again.
Oh. Now you got me looking for bison skull.
Sorry, what?
Sorry, I think my internet is dying on me. Oh, lovely. Well, this is gonna be an interesting part. And we're on. Okay, we're back.
Okay, if you've ever actually seen a cow skull, you can't really wear a cow skull, okay?
Wait. That sound like a challenge.
For heaven's sake.
It got me looking for.
Yeah, I know what you're looking for. Go ahead. Plastic ones don't count.
Oh well, if you're gonna take out the realism of plastic,
Yeah, yes, I am. I should have said that first. Okay, well, he's looking up creepy people wearing dead cow skulls. I'm gonna move on.
I mean, some of these actually would fit, maybe.
I should have moved on when I had the chance.
Yes, you should
Okay.
have, and now we're in this mess.
Okay, so I think it's now time to go to plausible explanations for this. Now, the Berserkers were described as superhuman, feeling neither pain nor fear. They were in a frenzied trance-like state, and they often gnawed at their shields. Now, this was, of course, the description by their enemies, and of course, Vikings encouraged this description by said enemies. So, what kind of explanation could we get? Well, one thing that they are the Viking elite. They were meant to be dehumanized, and they fight like animals. So, this all really could just be a myth. It could just be meant to say that the Vikings were a little better than ravenous animals, and that their worst of the worst were basically animals. So it could be that there was absolutely nothing special about them. They were just very fearsome warriors. But the fact that this was a time period where this kind of behavior was kind of going out of fashion, they got more of a reputation for being the last real, like, ravenous warriors in history, which is a maybe, but I don't know. I doubt it a little bit. Now, the second possibility, which a lot of people will strongly push, is the use of narcotics. Because the trance like frenzy that they described, a lot of people believe that various psychedelic substances could be used to achieve this very ferocious state, which is not unheard of. Several cultures have rituals where substances are used to achieve a higher state, which, well, no pun intended in that statement. I mean, literally, the whole series of Dune is based off that. They're basically using a narcotic to improve their senses and connect with the universe and reach a higher state of humanity, which, yeah. So, in the case of the Berserker, there are a couple of possibilities. One is, I'm going to butcher this name, the Amatia muscaria. Anybody else want to try to pronounce that?
No.
Okay. Which is a type of mushroom and a type of hallucinogen. And for those of you watching on YouTube, yes, it does actually look like that.
Yes, it does look like Mario's mushroom.
Yes, 100%. It is a hallucinogen, and we all have to question a lot about what Mario is actually seeing and what he's actually stomping on all those turtles for. Anyway, so yeah, this thing is possible. Another one that is actually a good possibility, and one that people argue is the more likely, is the, I'm also going to butcher this name, the Hyoscyamus niger. There is no way I pronounced that correctly. Like, there's absolutely no way. Because this thing, when ingested, will definitely mirror the described behavior. And more importantly, seeds of this plant have been found in Viking graves. Which, yes, while it is true that Vikings did have the big Hollywood spectacle of burning the bodies on ships and all that, there were actually Viking graves. That is not a myth. Some Vikings were burned in this big burial. Others were buried like normal, often in ships with other goods. That's where we have some of the famous Viking treasures, was from us finding some of their graves that were not burned or set on fire, which were basically, they would have basically been put in a ship and buried with it, showing again how important ship and seafaring were to the Viking people. So, what probably happened then is, just as it is, the Vikings were a very ferocious people, and they had a special unit that wore bearskin cloaks to, bearskins to distinguish themselves. They went in first to battle, and they were probably some of the most fearsome warriors of these people. These were probably the elite of the elite. They may or may not have taken mushrooms or trance-inducing drugs to get them hyped up for battle, or they could have just been fearsome warriors. But regardless, the point is, one, the word berserker outlived the actual warriors. Because even today, as mentioned, we still use the word berserk to describe anyone who goes into a rage, or someone who gets uncommonly mad for seemingly no reason, or someone who gets overly worked up. And whatever method they did use will always be up for debate. But the main point I was trying to emphasize with this is that the berserkers, these warriors, were real. And stories from our ancestors, old stories, ancient stories, should not be so easily discounted when we think about them just because they were from the past. We shouldn't think of our ancestors as these dumb, superstitious hicks who didn't know anything. Like, our ancestors were smart. And I will actually say some of our ancestors were a lot smarter than many of our generation today, because despite literally having all of human technology at our fingertips, we mostly use our cell phones to look up cat videos and porn. We've actually become dumber with the greater amount of technology and knowledge we have because most people don't bother to actually look it up and yet claim to be smarter than people who at one time actually managed to calculate the circumference of the Earth without any professional Really? Okay, this is proving my point.
I can rock that. I can make that work.
Okay, I think this picture, for those watching on YouTube, if anyone wants to leave a comment, tell me, does that picture prove my point or Shadow R. Fox? Which one? Let me know. I think it proves my point.
I think it proved they could have killed a couple of cows and easily had a bunch of free helmets for themselves.
How are they going to see?
I mean, don't just shove the whole thing on there.
They're going.
That's
If we're assuming
silly.
they're just attacking anything near them, why would they need to see?
Because it's not armor, it's a skull.
Clearly use the force.
Okay, I wasn't going to say that.
Trust in their senses. Use the force. Believe in the unknown.
How much are you going to trust in the Force if I put you on a battlefield right now?
I mean, if I swing wildly, I'm going to hit something. Probably my friendly forces, but that's probably why they made them run towards the enemy so quickly. They can't see where they're going. Just let them hit. Swing wildly.
The Vikings were wearing bear skins, not an ox skull.
I'm just saying you break off the lower jaw and only keep the top part of the skull and just, take like a strap and run it through the eye sockets that's left around your jaw and you got a hard helmet going on for you.
I don't even know where to begin about telling all the things wrong with that statement.
I mean, yes or no, a cow skull is very tough.
A human skull is tough too, but you're not going to wear it as armor.
Well, a cow skull is tougher. They use their heads to run into things, so...
Yes, but have you ever seen a football player wearing a cow skull?
Well, I mean... that's actually a good idea.
Okay.
I will watch football if all the football players have freaking cow skulls on there. Man, that would give a whole new outlook to the Longhorns.
NFL, a bunch of people are going to send that suggestion to the NFL, and the NFL are going to send us a message saying, you know how many damn calls we've gotten because of this?
They may actually go for it.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
They like money, and that's instant money. They could have their own little halftime show called the Cow Hour, and just have a bunch of football players with cow skulls on.
Okay, you know what? That might actually work.
That would be very popular in so many states. Do you know how the biggest footballer states are often the states that have the most ranchers and the most rural oh man, yeah, that may actually really blow up. Most of the football states are the one that have the rodeo.
We're gonna get a call from PETA about misusing animal corpses.
Well, I mean, they're dead. They don't need it. PETA only care about living animal. What they gotta care about dead animal?
Unless they're pigs, and then they don't care.
Oh, there you go.
Hey, for all those PETA people out there, look it up. PETA does not care if you shoot wild hogs.
I mean, that could be a whole nother game of just having two people with animal skulls run into each other till one give up. That could be a whole new game of chicken.
So this is what it takes for you to watch football. This is what you're saying.
I mean, that's entertaining, man. I mean,
look, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying.
If I see two football teams, one team have cow skull, the other have like longhorn skulls, I'm gonna watch that because I want to know what's about to happen.
Well, I would mention brain injuries, but to be fair, they don't give a damn about brain injuries now.
I mean, that's like just part of the game. They don't care about that.
No, I agree. It's like that's kind of a redundant point at this. It's kind of redundant.
I mean, the fact that we haven't gave them battle axes yet is just proof we're waiting for the ratings to drop low enough, and we're just gonna bring back. We're only one rating drop away from gladiator games.
I can't say you're wrong on that.
And I mean, that's what I'm waiting for. When we turn football matching into gladiator game and we just take away the football and give them battle axes, I'm going to start watching.
I mean, heck, I'm waiting for the day UFC starts giving them daggers, so.
That may actually happen very quickly.
Yeah, I know. Okay. One day people are gonna watch this and go, God damn, they predicted all of this. Like, yeah, we
Wow, they
did.
predicted death matches.
The real life death battles. We're gonna create real life death battles instead of doing the history and like the history analysis and doing a computer simulation. We're just gonna dress up people and give them weapons of the time and see who wins.
I mean, I still say that's how we should choose our president.
Considering our current race, I'm not against it.
I would love to see a death battle between our current candidates.
I would actually be all for that.
I
You know
mean,
what? I hate to admit it, I'm for it.
if we could imagine, we could just put them in like a Super Bowl, ball like arena, Super Bowl like arena, and just put a bunch of weapons on the ground or on the wall, and just get wherever you can get, and two candidate enter, one president leave.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of on board.
I mean, most people will be. This would be the highest voter turnout of all time.
I mean, this is no. I mean, a little bit like the Hunger Games.
Let
only,
the strongest one rule.
Okay, I'm not completely against this because originally, the Constitution was trying to get the smartest one to be in charge, but that's clearly fucked. So why not? Let the strongest rule. I'm not completely against this.
I mean, and I'm just waiting for next election because we're gonna get that Genghis Khan looking guy coming into the arena. He's gonna be clean up.
Oh, that'd be fun. I mean, could he really do much worse?
I mean, I would welcome the U.S. Mongol horde. I would willingly join the Mongol army, the Mongol American army that we would forge.
Oh God.
I mean, we already got a huge cavalry force going on.
That's true. And plenty of whiny people to act as cannon fodder, so we got everything we need.
Yeah. There we go. I mean, yeah, we can tie them to the tanks and stuff. Tie them to the planes.
Now, come on, let's be practical. We'll use them like Sherman did and use them to search for mines.
No, they're too slow for that. I just prefer to tie them, and yeah, I mean, the shielding we use for tanks are expensive.
Hey, remember,
Their lives aren't.
Sherman made them move a lot faster with a gun pointed at the back of their head.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And historically speaking, yes, that is something Sherman did, which is a war crime nowadays. But as
to be fair, it's not a war crime the first time you do it. The
I was
second
about
thing,
to say that.
the second thing to be fair about, it wasn't just Sherman who did that. It was also, I believe, the entirety of the Allied forces after World War II. They made a whole, I think, battalion of Germans dig through, I believe, was it Sweden or Finland? No, it was Sweden, I believe. Oh, it was one Scandinavian nation. They made them dig through like a whole area to look for mines. And then when they got done, they had to walk through the whole area.
Yeah, Sherman didn't do that. He just made them walk.
No, I remember the Germans had to dig up their own mines.
Sherman literally just made them walk. But to be fair to Sherman, this was when this was some of the earliest cases of like landmines or what they were calling torpedoes originally being used, and he thought that it was an ungentlemanly form of warfare. So he thought that the rebels were stooping to a low point, so he decided to stoop to a low point in return. So in all fairness to Sherman, he found a very low form of war, which, to be fair, I kind of agree with him. I think landmines are a very low form of warfare.
It was the Danish. The Danish took 2,600 Germans and made them remove their own landmine and then walk through the area to prove that it was safe.
Damn, and we think so nicely about the Danish because of their cookies.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to hear about war crime, look up Canadian war crime sometime.
Very true.
Half of the Geneva Conventions because it's the Canadian Accords.
By the way, have you guys ever actually tried those Danish cookies in the tin?
No.
They're horrid.
Well, we just lost all our Danish viewers.
So I'm sorry, but it's kind of true. I'm sorry, I don't like the cookies that come in the tin. Maybe I've just never eaten them fresh. They're always kind of stale when they come in. But to be fair, it's been ages. But anyway, my point is, the point I was trying to make is that these were real. So you shouldn't just discount a historical story because it was in the past. Our ancestors were still able to cognitively think, and they were trying to describe things to the best of their abilities, which should especially be remembered when we go into our next chapter, which might be a two-parter because there's a lot to it where we're going to be looking over sea monster, which should be interesting. What do you think? You two excited for sea monsters?
I mean, are we talking Kraken or what are we talking about?
We're talking all sea monsters, so yes, the Kraken is included.
Cthulhu?
Not Cthulhu.
I
Nessie?
mean,
The Cthulhu's not a sea monster. He's an interdimensional being. So ha!
All
who
right, what
lives
about
in the
Nessie?
sea?
He does not live in the sea. Actually, he might. I don't know anything about Cthulhu.
Ah,
So, like, for all I know, like he could live in the sea. We're not going over Cthulhu though, especially since Cthulhu's not a myth. Everybody knows he was made up by H.P. Lovecraft. Like that'd be like doing a monster thing on Jason X.
we could.
We're not doing one on Jason X. Anything you guys want to end off on?
I mean, just I'm
I heard
already.
I heard a click. I fear you're looking for an image.
Well, look, I'm already trying to get ahead of the game with the whole AI images.
Oh God.
So I think I may already have the sea monsters planned out. So
Oh dear.
Oh, I thought you typed in Cthulhu first.
no, I didn't.
Oh
need to.
God.
I just typed in Kraken, and that's what Meta AI gave me.
Yeah. Actually, I think that's an actual image of the Kraken. I feel like I've seen this picture before. That's my point. All right, so we're going to be taking a look at nightmares like that and the possible origins to where they came from. Until then, I am Archimage, and I hope you enjoyed this look into a less monstrous monster of mythology.
Okay, remember cow helmets. I'm bringing them back.
Oh, God.